We have a call from Susan, who lives in Jeff City. Susan, are you there?
Yes, I am, Ruben. Thank you for taking the call.
Okay. And what is your question or comment today?
I just want to comment just right now what Ken said about screening people and being sensitive and careful about who they have working on the police force in Columbia. But prior to his comments, the question I had was, because I'm listening to a lot of positives about what's being tried and where we want to go with this and how we're going to get there, has any consideration been given to the importance and the benefit of hiring minorities of all ethnic backgrounds to serve as police officers in the city? Because we all know in certain stressful circumstances that involve the police in a negative manner, people have a tendency to be drawn to whatever your ethnic background is, if you've got members on the force to interact.
The question is, what efforts are being made to recruit more officers that represent the different minorities in order to be more effective in policing within those minority communities? Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. And I'll hang up now and listen to your answer.
Okay.
We are kind of at the mercy of the people that come to apply. Now we can make outreach, and to be perfectly honest with you, I've only been here about 30 days, and so as far as our recruitment efforts, things I have utilized in departments I've worked in the past is recruiting where we find the minority candidates. And it's my desire that the department reflect the diversity of the community. And by that I mean, if 30% of our community is African American, for instance, then 30% of our police force should be the same. And that is a goal that's always a moving target for police departments, because we have to find the qualified applicants, and sometimes we've got to get off the beaten path to do that. I did that by going to African American universities and recruiting there. I think that a plan I have to expand our Citizens Police Academy program to high school students will be a good avenue. We can identify kids in schools who are interested in law enforcement and reach out to them early on.
Right. Is law enforcement seen as a career choice equally by people across the various minority groups, do you think?
No, that's the thing we need to combat is I think that when we're doing the things that we're talking about, law enforcement becomes more attractive to someone who is raised in a predominantly African American community, where right now the police are sometimes perceived negatively. Mm-hmm. When we create those relationships and they're perceived more positively, then it is seen as a career path. And kids early on identify with the police and then move into that line of work.
Right.
So it's something that we need to start at the grade school level, and then continue that relationship through when these young adults come of working age. Then they consider law enforcement as a profession they'd like to get into.
Right. There's an active discussion going on online. If you want to join us, email intersection@kbia.gmail.com. One participant online, Bill, says, "What's the difference between community watch and citizens simply reporting concerns to the police?"
Well, that's a good question. We hope that citizens, besides those that are trained as volunteers, neighborhood watch volunteers, would do that. And in fact, this is a good chance for me to we recommend to all of our volunteers, since most people carry cell phones now, is to program into your phone book the non-emergency police number. Now, this is good for the whole county.
What is that number?
442-6131. 442-6131. That's staffed by the Joint Communications Center. It's answered 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's the same people that are staffing the 911 emergency number. But if you see something that's suspicious, if you've got a license plate and a description of a car that you saw that it was under suspicious circumstances, you just look in your phone book and go to the non-emergency 442-6131. They'll be happy to take the information. They coordinate that information. That number is good throughout the county, and that's one way. So the difference is that, to answer the question, I guess, the difference is that people can be more observant and do a better job of reporting if they have some training. So many times a citizen will call and say, you know, I've seen this, and so the dispatcher says, well, now, did you get a description? Well, it was a black car. And then they said, well, did you get any part of a plate number? No, I didn't. And, you know, so what can the police do to follow up on something like that? So the part of it, of being a good volunteer and neighborhood watch person, is knowing how to take the information, what the police need to be able to follow up, and that's the answer.
And again, this is Intersection. Join the discussion by emailing us at intersectiononkbia@gmail.com. I want to go back a little bit. We started talking about the Citizen Review Board, and I know, Nathan, you've been involved in the discussions about that. And I just want to ask you, obviously the goal is to not need one. Do you think this professional standards unit that is in place at this point is enough, or do we need to keep going?
Well, you know, I want to cite Chief Burton here. You know, I kind of agree with everything he said in the sense that as a nonprofit administrator, you know, whenever you get audited, whenever you get evaluated, you know, when you're doing what you said you were going to do when you wrote a grant proposal, when you're doing what you said you were going to do in your mission statement, an evaluation or an audit is never a threat. It's actually an opportunity to brag and say, we've been doing exactly what we said we were going to do, and we haven't done any of the things that we weren't supposed to do. And so I see the Civilian Review Board exactly as that, to be an opportunity for the Columbia Police Department to say, we've been doing exactly what we said we were going to do. We've done none of the things that we said we weren't going to do. And so as we, you know, build the trust and the relationships or the various segments of the community, I believe that the need for the Civilian Review Board will ultimately go away.
Right. I guess another question with that becomes a resource question. The plan you outlined has police officers riding through the streets, getting to know people. How do we do that with a finite amount of police officers? What is going to have to change in order for the police officers to have time to do a little more of that sort of policing?
What a lot of people don't realize is that having that outreach into the community and having the eyes and ears out there of the community, the neighborhood watch, and having good relationship with citizens actually will reduce calls for service on the police. Because we have those relationships, we're in the neighborhoods, we know what's going on in the neighborhoods, we have a shared ownership with the people in the community, calls for service naturally go down. Number one is citizens know when to call. You heard this gentleman talking about the non-emergency number. The average citizen probably wouldn't know that. They're going to call 911. When we're out there and we have those relationships, people learn more about the police. We know more about the community. Calls for service naturally go down. So you have more time than you have right now. You hear officers say we go from call to call to call to call to call. Well, there's certain times a day that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But when we engage in community policing, when we engage in community outreach, we actually reduce our workload, right. And it's proven.